The Nintendo Switch has been out for nearly 5 years. It seems just like yesterday. Where does time go? And ever since a day after the Switch came out, there's been rumors nonstop for years now about a successor to the Nintendo Switch. I mean, it kind of ramped up last year a bit, and then we got the OLED model, which I'm pretty happy with, but overall, it wasn't the model people really wanted. You know, they wanted something new, something more powerful, something that a lot of the more recent games that have come out that have kind of showed, a little bit of the bottleneck of the system with some slowdown and, graphics pop in, just not the greatest performance in the world, but, still enjoyable experiences nonetheless. People wanted something bigger and better. And now, evidently, there is a leak, and this leak shows a potentially new Nintendo Switch model. Pretty interesting stuff. A Super Switch, Switch 2, the Switch U. Who knows what this thing will be called, but at the same time, I don't want to be extremely excited. We know this is going to frickin' happen. We know there will be a successor to the Switch. Will it be backwards compatible is one of the biggest concerns I think I have, and maybe a lot of you guys do as well. I mean, if it continues on, not just a new Switch model, but a successor to the Switch, is that still going to play our Switch games? Are they going to keep the same format with the cartridges and whatnot? But okay, this article on Shack News, I've looked at a few different articles, but this one goes a little bit more in depth. So I wanted to take a look at this with you guys real quick. So there was a little cyber attack today, apparently March 1st, that there's some Nvidia code that was leaked that had some sensitive information about, a lot of things going on here. And within all this code, it's been pointed out that it looks like there's a new Switch model that's using Nvidia's DLSS technology. So taking a look at this, there's supposed NVN folders in an NVN DLSS driver. NVN is an application program interface that Nvidia's designed specifically for Nintendo devices. The NVN API is not utilized for any other company's gaming hardware, so it has to be Switch, Nintendo, more specifically Nintendo related, right? So they state, connecting the dots, it would appear that Nvidia is working on code and drivers that allow the Switch to take advantage of DLSS. Interesting part is the currently available Switch models aren't capable of supporting this feature, so it kind of just seems like a given, right? That it would imply that there's a new model coming. Nintendo's not going to announce anything. Nintendo's not going to comment on any of this stuff. Obviously, Nintendo never comments on rumor and stuff like this at all. They just go after, people who are, putting out ROMs and stuff like that, or, infringing on their properties. But stuff like that, they're not going to comment on this. So really, you have to, don't get excited. Like, I had a lot of people sending me messages like, hey, this just got leaked. And I looked at it and I was like, it's interesting, but it's not anything to be like, okay, when do I put my pre-order down, right? So let's continue on. If you're not familiar, DLSS, short for Deep Learning Super Sampling, is a visual upscaling technology created by Nvidia. Available for only select hardware, DLSS provides a boost of performance, frames per second, without having to sacrifice image quality. So this is a good thing that Nintendo could utilize in a console that they try to keep, competitively priced, right? If they try to keep whatever their new console is in a similar price range as the Switch or Switch OLED, not trying to get into that $500 territory of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. If they're trying to stay lower than that, this is something that they can definitely utilize. Despite the Switch's undeniable success over the last 5 years, the console's graphical capabilities have been a common criticism. And it's been long rumored they've been working on this. Like I said, since day frickin' one. So here's part of the little leak that points to all this. If you want to take a look, interesting stuff, man. Interesting to see that this is out there. But like I said, at the same time, it's not anything to really jump up and freak out about and make an O face on a thumbnail about. I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of videos like that. It's interesting to see that. Okay. Most likely, the new Nintendo console is going to be using DLSS. That's interesting. Like I said, for maybe whatever reason Nintendo will utilize this, keeping the hardware reasonably priced and using this to not sacrifice performance, type of thing, right? It's going to be cool to see over time. There's going to be a lot of rumors and whatnot until Nintendo officially announces anything. That's essentially the way it goes with Nintendo. Unless they officially announce some shit, don't believe it. Like, you've had, what was it recently? I forget who it was, but I remember seeing an article about an individual that predicted like everything with the Nintendo Direct, right? But all it was privating a shit ton of tweets that they made prior, and they made all these like predictions, like who knows how many of them, right? A shit ton of them. And obviously, you start throwing shit out there, a ton of shit, something's bound to stick, right? So that's what the idea was to like pull one over on people, to kind of experiment with the world, with media and whatnot. And you never know what to believe out there, is kind of what I'm saying. Until Nintendo really just says it themselves, I wouldn't get too crazy excited. It's interesting to look to the future and to wonder about what's going on and what we're going to get. But really, like, all those details, there's nothing to go on right now. There's nothing to get extremely excited about, in my opinion. When a new Switch or a successor to the Switch comes out, I really think in the past, looking at Nintendo consoles, the NES to the Super Nintendo, there's no backwards compatibility. Super Nintendo to the Nintendo, there is no backwards compatibility, right? Nintendo 64 to GameCube, there's no backwards compatibility until you got to the Wii, and then the Wii playing GameCube, and then the Wii U playing Wii, and it just kind of went that route. And then the Switch comes out, doesn't play Wii U games, but they resold Wii U games, right? So it wasn't backwards compatible with anything, and they've been very lackluster with their offerings as far as virtual console stuff goes. Like, I guess, like, you could resell certain things, but the Switch Online, stuff with the access to the old school games is a whole other topic we've talked about in the past. But I think that's going to be one of my biggest things, and it's extremely important at this time. With such a huge library of Switch games and a huge library of awesome Switch games, for whatever the next console is, it could be coming out in a couple years. Like, I wouldn't get excited for this and be like, oh, this is going to be out this year. You never know. But it's not something to scream about at the moment. But I do feel whenever that does happen, it's going to be hugely important that maybe this new console being able to play old Switch games could give like a performance boost to certain things. There's certain games that are fun, but they struggle a bit. And we've been seeing that a little bit more lately. Like I said, like the newer Hyrule Warriors, there was some issues with that game. There's been a few, but if they have to put out patches for these games, or if it just, the system natively can, fix things, I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist here, but I do feel it's going to be extremely important for whatever the next Switch console is, or I keep saying Switch, you don't know what the fuck it's going to be called, but whatever the new Nintendo console is going to be, that it plays the Switch games of now. I think that's important to me. I'll keep my Switch regardless, but that's going to be a big thing. I feel it's important. Let me know what you guys think. Really do appreciate every single one of you guys. All of you who sent me information concerning this, thanks as well. It's not that I'm not excited. It's just that, I got to take it with a grain of salt. We're not seeing a console. We're not seeing anything. We're seeing a bunch of, registration entries, C header source files, and C++ source files and stuff that have DLSS and NVN2 listed in it. And it does point, from all information that we could gather, to a new Nintendo console. So there's that. Let me know what you think. Really do appreciate y'all. Big ass thumb butt in your face. Appreciate you guys. Bye.